Hello everyone, this is Bobbin Threadbare, and welcome to one endurance run of a mission.
187 at 5810 Murata Avenue. Homicide wants you over there. The coroner thinks the broad was whacked using the army morphine. Don't say anything, Roy. Just get over there.
It's kind of a flimsy excuse to get Vice involved.
What do you think?
Let's get out to the scene before they bag her. What's with that getup of yours, anyway? I should start introducing us as Detective Earl, and this is my science teacher, Mr. Phelps.
Your interest in my appearance is starting to get me worrying.
Like it or not, we're a dysfunctional couple now. People judge me with you on my arm same way they would a fat broad with a 5 o'clock shadow.
I really hope you're joking, Roy.
I suppose we had to do something since the homicide desk was entirely taken up by one serial killer, so there's no way we could do this case, you know, during homicide. Also, it's a DLC, so...
Seem distracted. We recovered the morphine. Some of it might be unaccounted for, so what? That's life. We did our job.
Closing one case opens another.
Do you have any idea what is really going on while we're wasting our time following this stuff?
Are you going to tell me?
The deals being done right now will change the face of LA forever, and we're wasting our time on some hump.
Someone's little girl.
Visit the morgue at the end of the month when the John and Jane Does were cremated. Their percentages. The odds for and against lightning striking.
It doesn't mean you shouldn't care. Rather nondescript apartment building.
Second floor, apartment 6, in the back.
Amazing how he managed to do that while breathing in. Oh, probably the one with the open door.
Bukowski, you made homicide.
That I did. Good to see you, Phelps.
You two want a hug? Or can we get on with this?
Relax, Rusty.
26 years old, fashion model. Found in the tub by the cleaning lady, Mrs. Reynoldson. She called it in.
We heard Carruthers thinks...
Carruthers likes to make work for people. Overdose of sleeping pills. Falls asleep in the tub. Rest in peace. Case closed.
Here, here. Mal is 100% that it's murder.
Do you mind if I take a look around?
Sure. Go right ahead.
Interesting that Bukowski is the only other detective who listens to the coroner.
You get lost and let me work? This broad was built to be photographed, even if she is dead.
Oh, crime scene photographer.
Phelps?
Mal, we've had a look around. Rusty thinks it's a waste of time. What's your theory?
Come on, Mal. Tell us why we were dragged down here.
If the victim was alive when she entered the tub, water would have entered her lungs. The water is violently churned in the windpipe as she drowns. The result is that a lot of foam is generated. This foam is found at the mouth and nostrils in almost all cases of real drowning. Notice anything about our Vic?
May I took a look?
Be my guest. Take a closer look at her head and neck.
The neck is bruised pretty badly.
No foam in the mouth or nose, either. What's this on her arms?
Bruising on the forearms, and these look like bite marks.
Very good.
Human teeth, no less. See, they at least gave her some dignity by draping a towel over her.
Very unusual ring.
Could be wrong, but it looks like a black sapphire. The eyes are a classic sign of morphine, and the bruises tell their own story. I think one man held her down and another held her arm and injected her. They put her in the bath to try to cover it as a drowning.
And spread a trail of barbiturates.
Take a look around outside on your way out and see if you can find the syrettes. It would make my theory.
And morphine would have been very quick, and there wouldn't have been much of a struggle.
Okay, so find two guys who recently bought syrettes and weren't junkies, and you might be onto something.
Is it her in these photos? Something else.
Yes. Miss Julie was...
Pretty girl like that? Maybe she was having trouble with some boys, huh? Maybe she got her heart broken. Couldn't take it anymore. So she ran herself a bath and down some hills, and then she just drifted off.
I don't know. Miss Julie has so much time. So much fun.
Quality English smoking jacket.
I'm sorry.
I don't know anyone under 45 who would wear one.
There. It's okay.
Interesting listening to Roy Earl try and console a witness. Come on. Come on.
Looks like barbiturates.
The sweet spot is so arbitrarily small in some cases.
Barbiturates. What else is rattling around in this thing?
Looks like there's 2 layers.
We should speak to a doctor. Prescribing both drugs would make her life a roller coaster.
Plus, this prescription is over a year old. What's up with that? Does she keep refilling the same bottle? I'm not sure if they're allowed to do that. I think they're supposed to, update the numbers on that thing. At least I think that's what they do today, but I'm no expert in that sort of thing, so... Huh. That must be her. And that. And these.
This is all top end of town stuff. Gives us somewhere to look.
Does she have photos of anyone else in her apartment? Sort of this weird habit that shows up in this game that you don't realize until you just sort of...
It's been a modeling assignment.
Until you really look at it.
It's a place to start.
Discern.
Beautiful girl. Clothes certainly aren't from the Sears catalog.
Yeah, how many portraits of yourself do you have in your own home, compared to the number of pictures you have of people you know and loved ones? Just think about that for a minute. Success music played, but we do need to find that Surrette somewhere. Guess it's not in the kitchen, though. Could be outside, but no, we got a witness to interview yet. Let's just do that. Later. No.
I'm Detective Phelps. I'm here to try and help Julia. Do you mind answering some questions?
Virginia Reynoldson, I'm just so shocked. I feel like there's something I should be doing, someone I should call.
We can make those calls, ma'am. Who needs to be notified?
That's just it. I don't know. Miss Julie doesn't have any family in town. Someone has to set her affairs in order. Mr. Henderson, maybe? Who else is there? I don't know.
If you give the details to the other detectives, ma'am, they can try and get in contact.
Phelps, on the other hand, can't be bothered.
Was Miss Randall depressed about something? Upset?
No more than normal.
Is that so?
What are you hiding here, Mrs. Reynoldson? Julia was obviously disturbed about something.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, she was taking a lot of pills.
She was taking barbiturates. She couldn't sleep. You must have seen them in her room.
You've seen the pillbox, the things she hid in there. I don't know how she supported herself. Always new clothes and jewelry. She lived like a movie star, a princess. Does modeling really pay that well?
Depends.
Did Miss Randall have many friends visit?
I'm not sure. I only come around twice a week.
Why are you lying to me, Mrs. Reynoldson? Julia had men stay here.
I will not speak ill of the dead. You can't prove that.
There's a freaking jacket in her room.
Who owns the smoking jacket?
I wouldn't like to tell tales, you understand. That's Mr. Henderson's. An older man, very distinguished looking. He seemed very much in love with her.
Where would we find him?
I'm sorry. I don't know. He said he lives in San Francisco.
What was it like working for Miss Randall?
Perfectly fine, officer.
Was it really?
Mrs. Reynoldson, it seems like there's something you want to tell me.
She was very high-strung. Lovely one moment and screaming at you the next. She wanted it all, and she wanted it damn quick. Of course, being so beautiful, it seemed like she was going to get it. Not the way it's turned out, though, is it?
Thanks, Mrs. Reynoldson. You've been very helpful. One of the other detectives will take your statement, and then you can go home.
Once again, Phelps cannot be asked.
Stefan, Rusty, we'll take a look around outside and then follow up these leads. Can you get some guys to run down the jacket?
You think Carruthers has called it right?
He rarely gets it wrong.
I don't know. I'm with Galloway. I've met enough girls in my time who can't handle their dope.
She already had sleeping pills. She didn't need something else to be addicted to. It's not always that easy, but still. What have we here?
Mal will be pleased.
Well, that's hardly conclusive, given the number of those things we've come across recently.
The autopsy will confirm it one way or another.
I think our work is done here.
And we could have gotten fingerprints, too, if Phelps hadn't put his grimy fingers on it. And by the way, I love the way that he just sort of takes charge of the investigation, even though he's the junior detective out of the three of them. And he was brought in to assist Homicide, not to run it. Not to run the investigation. It's just, he is that much of an asshole. I really do believe.
It's him. The cop.
You can drive.
Bukowski, Galloway, quite the little reunion in there. Almost brought a tear to my eye.
They're good police.
How would you know? You got promoted so fast you barely had time to learn their names. Let me fill you in. Bukowski's a pushover. Galloway's a drunk.
You could learn a thing or two from both of them.
Please. They couldn't work a vice case if their life depended on it.
I don't see why they'd be any better or worse at it than me.
I noticed you said better. Hubris disguised as humility. Kind of your trademark, don't you think?
Why do you always twist everything? Galloway's got nothing to prove. He's been on Homicide for years.
And he's welcome to it. You're a terrier, Phelps, and that's what I need. Not some old bulldog who can't get up a flight of stairs without coughing up his lunch.
Apparently, he doesn't know about that whole incident with the thugs back in the last traffic case, if he thinks Bukowski's a pushover.
I understand you, but thousands wouldn't.
Well, hello. What can I help you with today?
Isn't that the cop that caught the
LAPD,
guy that
ma'am.
was pretending to be
I
dead?
hope I haven't done anything wrong.
No, ma'am. We're making some inquiries about Julia Randall. Does she work here?
No, I had to let her go. Is she in some sort of trouble?
She was found dead this morning.
So she was in trouble.
How long had Julia worked as a model?
Well, she worked in New York before coming here. She was a very beautiful girl.
You weren't as shocked as someone normally is when told about a murder, ma'am. Is there something about Julia you want to tell me?
You're accusing me of lying? How dare you? What basis do you have for this kind of accusation?
None at all.
Looks like I made a mistake. Could you tell us why you let Miss Randall go?
Husbands sometimes come in here with their wives. When Julia Randall modeled, the husbands were often more interested in her than they were their wives' dresses. The wives weren't happy, and neither was I.
Did she have any close friends here?
Actually, yes. Heather Swanson. Would you like to speak with her?
I'd like that very much. Please don't inform her about Miss Randall's death.
Very well, officer.
Heather?
These gentlemen are from the LAPD.
I'm Detective Phelps. This is Detective Earl. I understand that you worked with Julia Randall, Miss Swanson?
Yes. Julia helped me get my job here. She's not in any kind of trouble, is she?
She's a hellraiser, isn't she? Lives a fast life.
Oh, no. Maybe Mrs. Stanley would call her that, but I wouldn't. She's full of life, a wonderful company.
That's a lovely engagement ring.
Do you like it? Henry gave it to
I'm
me.
very interested in engagement rings. Do you mind if I take a closer look?
It's kind of an odd thing to say.
That's some pearl, Miss Swanson. Would have cost Henry a fortune. He must really love you. How did you meet Julia?
I was introduced through my fiancé, Henry Arnett.
Were Julia and Henry intimate before you started seeing him? Is there something you haven't told us, Miss Swanson?
How would I know whether Henry and Julia were close?
Well, Henry might have told you, but I wouldn't know.
It's nothing personal. I'm just doing my job. You understand that? Henry is your beau. Tell us about it.
Yes, he is. Henry has a fashion business. He and Julia have been friends for years.
Are Miss Randall and Mr. Henderson engaged?
Who's he?
She was wearing a sapphire engagement ring. Someone must have given it to her.
She never mentioned a man named Henderson to me.
That's all for now, Miss Swanson. Could you ask your fiancé to visit Hollywood Police Station? It would be very helpful to our inquiry.
Now, wait a moment. I don't think I'll pass on that message until you tell me why you're asking all these questions.
Julia Randall was found dead this morning.
What? Oh, no. Oh, I can't believe it. She was so full of life.
What does it say about a person if someone says she's so full of life even before they know she's dead? Oh, okay. I was gonna go around, but thank you. You coming, Merle? Because I'm gonna drive off now, and if you... Okay. Thank you. It was weird.
Nice move not telling old Sweet Lips in there about her friend taking the big jump till we were half out the door. Very slick.
I figured we'd get more out of her that way.
You're learning, Phelps. We'll make a vice cop out of you yet.
Is that something vice cops often do? Mislead witnesses about who's alive and who's dead? Because from Roy's example, it seems like what vice cops do is name their informants. Hey, an open window. That's unusual. Didn't know those windows could open. Let's see. So we're here to see Dr. Stoneman.
Here, Stoneman, office 505.
Probably got an elevator then. Oh, good.
I swear, if we locked up every doctor in this town, Vice would be able to work half days.
Oh, nice effect with the Venetian blinds. Finally something that's actually striking of noir.
Yes, sir, your name?
LAPD. We'd like to see Dr. Stoneman.
Dr. Stoneman is with a patient. Would you like to wait?
No, we wouldn't. Tell him we want to see him now.
There's no need to be rude.
Save it, sister.
Dr. Stoneman, I have some gentlemen from the LAPD here to see you.
Send them in, please. I'll see this patient again after they've left.
Yeah, seriously, telling Roy to not be rude, that's just a lost cause.
Your investigation is much more important than my sciatica. I'm just in pain here. Leave me alone.
That's lower back pain, by the way, is what he's complaining of.
Dr. Stoneman, we are investigating the death of one of your patients, Julia Randall.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
Do you mind if we ask you some questions about Ms. Randall?
Not if it doesn't compromise doctor-patient privilege, Detective.
How well did you know Miss Randall?
Barely at all. She'd only been a patient 6 months or so.
Longer than that.
Julia Randall has been your patient for nearly a year. I'm sure you know that.
Do you doubt my veracity, Detective? Do you have access to my patient records?
No, but I do have access to one of your prescription records. Also, it's been more than a year.
Your prescriptions contradict you, Doctor.
Miss Randall was in the fashion business, as you probably know. She was jumped up on Benzedrine by day and knocked down by sleeping pills at night. I told her to slow up, but no. Life was too short for her.
And you supplied the prescription for the Benzedrine.
It's not illegal, Detective. A lot of young women in her line of work use it for weight loss.
You wrote Julia Randall a prescription for Benzedrine. How can you account for that?
Miss Randall was in the fashion business. She wanted to control her weight.
Benzedrine is addictive, as I'm sure you know, Doctor.
As I warned her, but she was determined. She said she needed it to control her appetite.
Sounds like you knew her pretty well.
I knew the line of work she was involved in.
That'll be all for now, Dr. Stoneman. We'll be in touch.
That wasn't much of an interview. Still.
Operator, give me dispatch.
Why not use his phone?
Putting you through now.
Phelps, 1247.
How could I help, Detective?
Messages for me, please.
Yes, Detective. The coroner's been asking to speak to you. I can connect the call if you like.
Please, thank you. Al?
Cole, can you get over here? I just finished the autopsy.
Sure thing, Mal. We'll be right over.
You couldn't have specified that in the message? Alright.
Hurts to walk, hurts to sit down, and now I got policing riding me like I'm a criminal. Get lost.
How are those blinds creating that Venetian effect, though? They don't look like they match up. Exciting elevator action.
The old boy's lying.
About what?
I don't know. He looked relieved when you said she was dead. That's a strange reaction to have to the death of a young patient.
Alright. Who are we gonna visit next? Ah, right. The coroner.
You drive. I need to go over the case notes.
I wonder if he has the run of all of the hospital morgues in LA.
Have you noticed how croakers only pull out the physician-patient privilege card when they got something to hide?
There are certain things people have a right to keep private.
Until it gets in the way of police work. And it's only private when it suits them. A couple of drinks and every doctor I've met will spill your darkest secrets in a heartbeat.
Does Roy drink with a lot of doctors? I know there's that one psychiatrist, but...
Detectives Phelps and Earl here to see the coroner.
Yes, Detective. He's waiting for you in the examination room.
Let me guess. Hiding from the wife?
In the morgue?
Paul, Roy, I have some information for you.
You're the only person enjoying this, Mal. Get on with it.
The bruising confirms 2 sets of hands, so we have 2 killers. Death was caused by heart failure due to an overdose of morphine.
Have you dragged us down here to gloat? We already heard your theory.
We agree that she was murdered.
Yes, of course.
I have something else to show you.
All right, Mal, what gives?
The dead guy's name is Jimmy LeBlanc, career burglar. He came in this morning. Someone stove his head in with a lump of 2x4.
So what? Good riddance.
I found 2 cigarettes in his jacket pocket.
Wow.
Hang on a minute, Roy. We're listening, Mal.
No sign of morphine use and no metabolized morphine in his blood. Scratch marks on his face.
Which could be from getting his head remodeled.
Time of death, Mal.
Maybe an hour or 2 after the Randall girl.
So you're saying Laughing Boy here could be one of our killers? That's a hell of a long shot.
Thanks, Mal. We'll check it out.
I found something else.
See if I can look at the corpses. Also, that's one hell of a head remodeling.
Sorry, I don't play.
I don't know if it's significant. His wallet was empty. The only other things he was carrying were the harmonica and the morphine. Carruthers. Yeah, he's here. I'll send him over. They have a guy called Henry Arnett in interview 2 for you next door. Let me know how you get on.
Sure, Mal. And thanks for the lead.
Sure, Mal. Thanks for the lead.
Such pointless petulance, that.
He's only a writer, so he can't really help.
Mouthpiece store strips off me at the grand jury. Case got thrown out. Now the DA wants my head.
That guy's not talking.
He's good looking for a policeman.
So, interview room 2.
I'm going up to the lakes to watch the races on Saturday.
Well, this clearly isn't the right place.
I want to make homicide. You know
That's not it.
that guess.
See here. Oh, there's interview room 1. And, down here. Secretary's room.
Arnett is in interview 2, Phelps. Go help him get whatever it is off his chest.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. Thank you. It's apparently one of these directions. Ah, interview room 3. That's where he is now. No, of course.
Bum took a swipe at me. Put him down.
Finally, there it is.
Mr. Arnett, I'm Detective Phelps. This is Detective Earl. Thanks for coming in.
Call me Henry. It's the least I could do. Terrible news about Julia.
How well did you know Julia Randall?
Vaguely. I'm in the clothing business, and Julia occasionally modeled for me.
He's asking whether you banged her in a chuck-on-the-shoulder fraternity kind of way.
I'm engaged to be married. It wouldn't be polite.
Answer the question.
This will remain private. Heather won't have to know. Yes. We had relations.
Miss Randall's landlady said she was seeing an older man.
Could have been. I wasn't privy to all the details of Julia's private life.
Henry, I don't like when people lie to me. She was seeing a man named Henderson. You know who I'm talking about.
Easy on, detective. I may have heard of Henderson, but I don't know his full name. I think he's from New York or someplace back east.
That's funny. That's not what the maid told us.
That's funny. Julia told her cleaning lady that he lived in San Francisco.
Okay, you got me. I don't know where he's from. Julia wanted money. She always wanted money. She thought she could get something, this guy.
She was wearing a distinctive engagement ring. You think she might have convinced him to buy it for her?
Maybe he did, yeah. Maybe he and Julia were getting serious.
Ever heard of a Jimmy LeBlanc?
No. Should I have? Is he an entertainer or something?
So you wouldn't have any reason to believe that LeBlanc would be involved in Julie Randall's murder?
If this guy is a criminal, he might have been involved. But like I said, I've never heard of this LeBlanc character.
Heather told us that you were in fashion.
That's right.
Need a drink. I got the jitters again.
Some kind of traveling salesman?
Once I got out of the Corps, I used my...
You were in the Marines?
Sure. I'm proud of it. The Fighting Sixth.
You were in the 6th Marines?
Yes. I was a captain.
Which company?
Various companies. We had a lot of casualties.
Which engagements?
Okinawa. A couple of other places.
That will be all for now, Henry. You've been very helpful.
That son of a bitch was never in the Marines. Why'd you let him off the hook?
Because we're giving him a couple of minutes before we start tailing him. Arnett is an amateur. We need to find out who killed the girl. Can you pass this on to Bukowski? Have him check the place out and go through his records.
Sure, I'll pass it on.
Thanks. Can you also have R&I run the records on a Jimmy LeBlanc and find out who was his last arresting officer? Have them get in touch via KGPL when they have some information.
He's in that car at the lights.
Cream-colored. The only cream-colored car on the road.
He was squirming like a worm in there. Don't you love it when they pull the war hero excuse? Actually, maybe you don't.
Careful, we'll get spotted at this distance.
Yeah, clearly the correct solution is to stop in the middle of an intersection.
I'd have expected a cad like Arnett to be a better liar.
I didn't even put the top up for this. Come on, man, it's a green light. And we're just running through the red. Because that's how tailing in a car works.
Where are you taking us, Henry?
Oh, hello, other cars. Excuse me, I'll just drive on the sidewalk for a bit and be completely inconspicuous. This one's taking a while. I think this is the home stretch, though.
Never stepped foot in Okinawa.
Ah, yes, Phelps is finally showing a bit of that suppressed rage. Inconspicuous. Ah, he's stopping.
He needs money and fast. Get in there and find out what he pawned. I'll stick with him, see how he intends to spend the money. Too much slack. Gotta get closer.
Hoof it, Phelps. I'll bring the car around when I'm done here.
Alright, get another on-foot tailing job. So now I can actually show you what it's like to go incognito on one of these displays. And hide behind one of the walls. This whole thing is kind of annoying, though, because Cole will complain that you're too far away, even though for this particular intersection, you basically have to wait for him to cross all the way over to the other corner. Because if you don't wait for him to do so, he'll spot you. And I can clearly see him here. And he didn't do it this time, but Cole loves to complain about being too far away during this particular tailing job.
Move in. Can't risk losing the trail.
Like so. I just did move in, Cole. Stop complaining so much. Went around the corner. If I can get to it fast enough, I should be in good condition. Good shape. Alright, I can just about see his head.
Too much slack. Gotta get closer.
Over the fence here. Oh. Guess I didn't need to get across it. He has reached his destination.
That's right, Mexico City. One-way ticket, please. Next available seat.
That would be 1 day from now. Is that okay?
It's going to have to be.
LAPD, the man who just came in here, he bought a ticket?
Yes, sir. To Mexico City, tomorrow night.
If you hear from him again, don't mention this conversation.
What have you got?
He bought a ticket from Mexico City. Tomorrow night.
That's good. But this is better.
Oh my God. It's Fabergé.
Should have seen the look on the pawnbroker's face when I told him to hand it over. The guy who owned the joint thought it was worth at least 10 large for a cigarette case. Arnett only got 600 clams.
Damn. Dearest Beverly? Doesn't sound like a man named Henry Arnett. Oh, he brought the car around. That's nice of him. But I got a phone call to make, so I'm just running over here instead of driving because, okay, why not?
Operator, give me R&I.
Putting you through now.
I wonder if those textures are supposed to be reversed.
Phelps, badge 1247.
How could I help, Detective?
Any messages?
Yes, Detective. Detectives Bukowski and Galloway request you return to the Hollywood station. They have information in the Julia Randall case.
Any luck with the arrest record check on Jimmy LeBlanc?
Yes, Detective. Jimmy LeBlanc's last arresting officer was Patrolman Fred Wallace. He's posted the Hollywood 9th Beat Sunset Boulevard between Gordon and Wilcox.
Thanks, man.
I guess we can just stop over there on our way into the station. Just so.
That's the guy from the paper who solved that big case.
Apparently Parnell's invested a lot into street advertisements.
A one-way ticket to Mexico. Old Henry's looking as guilty as a dog next to a pile of dog shit.
What's his motive?
I can think of a few, but I'd put my money south of the belt. One guy plus two dames always equals problems.
Go left just now.
Go straight.
Yeah, that took longer than I was expecting.
Come on, let's give him a hand. Right behind you, Wallace. Detective Phelps.
Wallace, go left. I'm going right after this little prick in the alley.
Huh. Didn't do any of that circle thing. Usually happens with an armed chase. I mean, yeah, you ducked around the corner too fast, but still. Kinda says something. It says that there's going to be combat at the end of it.
Throw out the gun.
Come on, lean over.
You're covered, Phelps.
Damn it. Terrible time to reload. Alright, we got two more bogeys here. It's a little too inaccurate to nail his feet.
Give me some goddamn cover.
How about you? Maybe I can hit his foot. Yeah, that worked.
Thanks. Outstanding warrant, armed robbery. Knocked over a drugstore back there, and it looks like he brought his whole posse with him. Bad luck for them.
They're all yours now.
We need some information.
Ever heard of a burglar goes by the name of Jimmy LeBlanc?
Sure. I nabbed Jimmy on a burglary beef a couple of years back. They cut through a music shop and into a jewelry store. He got 4 years. I missed his partner, though.
His partner?
Big guy. I had him cornered, and he picked up this huge display case and threw it out a plate glass window. Then he vaulted out of there like something out of Barnum and Bailey.
Got away.
I would have had him, except for LeBlanc yelling, "Run for it, Willie!"
And you think he was an acrobat of some sort?
More like a strongman, a wrestler, or a boxer, that kind of thing.
Thanks. You've been a big help.
You haven't done too badly yourself.
Look at all the bodies. Also, I'm pretty sure Willie would have run for it whether his partner had said anything or not.
You're behind the wheel.
You're suggesting LeBlanc is still working with Willie?
A strong man held down Randall while someone administered morphine. Someone with muscle opened up LeBlanc's skull. Could be.
We caught up with Mao. He's given us the dope on LeBlanc.
He worked burglaries with a big guy. Goes by the name of Willie. He might be our killer. Can you work boxing gyms, the Y, promoters, that kind of stuff?
Since when have you started giving orders, Phelps? And where's the burglary angle? There was no sign of a...
That's where Arnett comes in. Next stop, we speak to Lacey about a list of recent burglaries. Guy's a bum. His office is a front, and he's behind on the rent and his phone bill. And he's skipping town tomorrow.
Let's get him in and beat it out of him.
Do you want to bring in the killer, Rusty?
You could be too smart for your own good, Phelps. We've been talking about that, haven't we, Roy? Stefan?
Finbar?
Sir, I need the contraband list. Items stolen over the last year.
Hang on, I'll dig out a copy for you. Here you go.
Thanks.
Is the cigarette case on there?
1947, not 1947.
It's here. Arnett must be out of his mind trying to move this while under a murder cloud.
And here's another thing.
Julia Randall's ring. It's here.
Let's see what else is on here.
Goddamn captain's making me resubmit the paperwork.
This is really everything from April to September?
Even the engagement ring was purloined. Arnett is a cad.
Hasn't done anything, so there's probably something else. Let's see here.
Seems Julia wasn't the first bored society girl to hide her bennies in that pillbox.
I have faith in the Lord. Do you, senor?
Fascinating. So every valuable item we've looked at was stolen. There's your burglary angle.
Can you drive to this one?
Let's see what else we can dig up.
So you and Rusty have been having discussions. Anything you would like to tell me, partner?
Phelps, don't be so touchy. Rusty had his best ever clearance rate working with you. Even if the cases he worked on can't be discussed. We were just comparing notes. You're a Booneroo case man, Phelps. One of the best I've ever seen.
Thanks.
You gotta learn to take a compliment, Phelps.
Too bad he's such a giant prick, though.
Nice house.
LAPD, ma'am. Is Mrs. Eavestrom in?
She is. Would you follow me, sir?
I am Mrs. Eavestrom. How may I help you?
We appear to have recovered some stolen goods that belong to you, ma'am.
Yes, of course. That terrible burglary. Would you like something to drink?
No, thank you, ma'am. We have some questions, if you don't mind.
Why would I mind, young man, if you are returning 43 pieces of my property?
Okay, before we get down to that, I'll have a scotch. Thanks, straight up.
Maria, can you get the detective a drink, please?
Can you describe to us what was stolen?
It would be easier to describe what wasn't stolen, Detective. A priceless tiara that has been in the family for 50 years. A Fabergé cigarette case that was worth $25,000.
Why are you lying about the value of your jewelry, Mrs. Eavestrom?
Who do you think you are, making heinous accusations in my own home?
Well, it's just that, you know, the pawnbroker thought it was worth 10 grand.
We recovered the cigarette case from a pawnbroker. No one knows the real value of an item better than those guys.
I inflated its value for the insurance claim. There. Are you satisfied? My daughter's boyfriend was quite taken with the case. I think he was even more disappointed than I was when it was stolen.
Oh, really?
What can you tell us about the burglary?
That terrible night. At least a year ago. But let's not go into that. Let's talk about what you've recovered.
I think you know more about this burglary than you were letting on, Mrs. Eavestrom. There isn't an insurance claim involved, is there?
Are you accusing me of having my own home burgled? How dare you? What possible proof do you have for this scandalous remark?
Sorry. My mistake. Were you in the house when the burglary took place?
Good heavens, no. I was at a social function held by a Dr. Harold Stoneman and his lovely wife. I returned home and all of my things were missing.
That's about it for now, Mrs. Eastrom. The department will get in touch and let you know how you can recover your valuables.
You have only mentioned a few of the items that have been stolen, Detective. What else has been recovered?
You see, Phelps? That's why you get the drinks in early.
Hello, Mother. Hello, detectives. What is going on?
We'd like to ask exactly the same question.
You have met my daughter?
This morning at work. Oh, mother and father divorced. I took my father's name.
The detectives recovered some of the things that were stolen, darling.
Well, what did you find?
A sapphire ring on the corpse of Julia Randall.
What are you talking about?
Your engagement ring, Miss Swanson. Would you be surprised to know that it was part of the proceeds of a burglary?
That's an outrageous allegation.
Yes, it is. I suggest we go straight to Henry Arnett's place and sort this mess out.
Oh, she's coming with us. I think that's the only time that's ever happened in this entire game.
We're missing something here. Arnett is obviously arranging the burglaries.
That's my fiancé you're making scurrilous accusations about.
And Randall was obviously his partner.
But neither of them are the type to creep apartments.
You're being ridiculous. Both of you. There's a very good explanation for all of this.
What is sogging it, sister? You're being played for a patsy and you're not even smart enough to see it.
Is scurrilous just one of the developers' words of the day?
Straight through the next intersection.
So, by the way, you can get an achievement for getting to your destination without running into anything. You know, being a good chauffeur, so to speak. But it's a long drive, so we're not going to see most of that.
Come on, sister. Let's find out who your fiancé really is.
Welcome, sir. I'm sorry, are you a resident?
LAPD detectives. We're here to speak to Henry Arnett.
Oh, Mr. Arnett? Apartment 30. You can take the lift.
Thank you.
You know what's always bugged me? The way you always slide into position whenever you press the elevator button.
Well, isn't this just nice and awkward?
Even if you line up correctly, you're always going to slide into position.
Stop! LAPD!
Don't kill him, Cole. This guy's our case.
Go on,
Put your hands in the air!
What? Ah, damn it. Lined up with the wrong side for a second there. That's gonna cost me some time.
Give it up! LAPD!
Well, at least he slowed down for the balance beam. But then so does Cole.
Don't make me chase you!
Seems like he's waiting for me, though. Go figure. I think that's the only time that happens, too. Chase ends with someone cleaning Cole's clock.
Looks like he got you good, Phelps.
Yeah, he really packs a wallop. How did I get back here?
Under your own steam, miraculously. You came in through the window, said hello, and then keeled over.
How was Arnett?
He's coming round, too. He's all hopped up. Good time to get some answers.
You
You missing something, Henry?
Let's just look in your suitcase here, nice and quick.
You told Heather you're honeymooning without her? Vacheron Constantine. It's an extremely expensive watch, Henry.
Very nice looking.
A graduation present from my parents.
We know all about the jewelry ring. You and Randall and LeBlanc and Willie doing the legwork.
I'm in the fashion business.
You're lying, Henry.
How can you prove that I'm involved, Detective?
Oh, let me count the ways. I think I'll just settle for the cigarette case, though.
Because you pawned a Fabergé cigarette case today for $600. A case that is on a list of stolen items.
It was Julia's idea. Get a list of society parties, and find out where and when, and then have the guests burgle. Julia was desperate for money. No matter how much we made, she always wanted more.
Why did Reed and LeBlanc kill Julia Randall?
I wanted to stop, to get out of that life. I was gonna marry Heather, she'd have me. Julia told the others that they were out, that she was gonna create a new gang.
Apparently we brought Heather along for reaction shots.
You're lying, Arnett. I think you ordered them to kill her. It was made to look like suicide, and when the coroner saw through that, you knew it was time to run.
I told you I was involved in the burglaries. I had nothing to do with Julia's death. Why would I need to run?
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know that you are running.
Have you told Miss Swanson that you're leaving for Mexico City tomorrow night? That it's a one-way ticket?
Henry? Tell me it isn't true.
I had no choice. I wanted to marry Heather. I told Julia I wanted out, and she laughed in my face. I had to pay Willie and Jimmy a fortune to do her, and now I'm completely broke.
What you are, Buster, is under arrest.
Who is Henderson, and what is his involvement?
Tell them what you know, Henry. I'll stand by you if you'll only tell the truth.
There is no Henderson.
Tell me about your first burglary, and don't lie.
I can't remember. I don't keep a list of these things.
Well, luckily we do. Kind of a non sequitur, though, isn't it?
Your first burglary was a Dr. Harold Stoneman. You want to explain how he is involved, or shall I?
Henderson is Stoneman. He was crazy about Julia. She could get him to do whatever she wished. He threw the parties, and we arranged the burglaries. Julia never let him touch her. She just kept him hanging on the promise. Drove the good doctor almost insane.
Henry Arnett, you are under arrest for burglary and for the murder of Julia Randall.
Henderson is Stoneman, all right? I'm not the guy you want. Go talk to the good doctor.
Oh, we will, knucklehead. Meanwhile, we're fitting you for convict stripes.
You ordered the murder, dude. You admitted it. You're gonna get Stoneman in for something else, but you're still going the hell up the river. Alright. Well, time to put a bow on it.
You're behind the wheel.
Actually, not yet. We still got Willie to find, too.
I guess the wedding's off.
He only robbed her mother and killed her best friend. Cut the guy some slack.
So how does the doctor fit in?
That's what we're about to find out. Maybe we should ask him to give you a quick once-over. That meathead gave you one hell of a pasting.
I've had worse.
You should have seen yourself staggering back in there like a drunken sailor.
Next time you can take the runner, Roy.
I didn't box in the Marines, though, did I?
Should have never told you that.
Oh, you would have made you go after the runner either way. Hooray, we're back here. And we gotta wait for another elevator. Hooray.
Time for the doctor to give us something to make this all better.
Wait, how come the Venetian shadow is still there? The sun is clearly not in the same place.
Hang on a moment, sister. Tell him it's Henry Arnett. And tell him it's urgent.
I can't do that.
Tell him, or I'll charge you with obstruction of justice.
Doctor, I'm afraid Mr. Arnett is here to see you, and he says it's urgent.
Send him in. I told you never to come.
Tell us the truth, Doctor.
I'm so glad you came. Prison will be better than insanity, and I'm already half insane with grief. Do you know that I loved her? I ruined my life for her, and yet I still love her.
Will you testify in court that Arnett and Randall did these robberies?
They organized the robberies. Julie would get the names of the guests attending my wife's parties. Didn't matter how much money I showered upon her, it was never enough. She never really cared for me.
Doctor, I'm afraid you're under arrest.
The practice. You'll call Dr. Gerard. No. Please don't cry. I want to see no one. Not my wife, or my children, nor my friends. And I don't want a lawyer. Just lock me up and throw away the key. What have I done?
Well, now what have you done?
Didn't see that coming.
I guess now we know why the window was open.
What now?
Call this in, Cole. Maybe you should ask for a street sweeper.
Where did his... Oh, there's his phone.
Operator, message for KGPL.
Putting you through now.
I need an ambulance and the coroner immediately to the offices of Dr. Harold Stoneman, 1646 Ivor Street, Hollywood.
En route, Detective. You have a message. Detective Bukowski says the suspect is named Wilson Willie the Wolf Reed, former wrestler. Last known address is an apartment building at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. Detective Bukowski says to meet them there.
On our way.
Apparently, Bukowski's not that bad at legwork.
We have an address for the runner.
Let's try and wrap this up then.
That old boy really fell for that broad.
She was incredibly beautiful.
Would you throw it all away for a woman?
Life has a way of making you pay for your pride.
You're quite the romantic, Phelps. Stick with the percentages. Broken hearts are for chumps.
You're talking from experience.
I certainly am. Oh, I like women as much as the next guy. As long as they're in their place and doing what they're told.
Surprised Cole let that pun just slip on by.
Examiner?
about $5.
Thank God I didn't park there.
Nice, Roy. That's nice. Alright, now we're looking for the last unknown element.
You know the way. You can drive.
The last member of this burglar ring who isn't either locked up or dead. Actually, they're mostly dead. Jesus.
He's around here somewhere. A big guy. Neighbors say he always wears basketball shoes and a cream jacket. And get this. The kids around here say he plays the harmonica.
Find a game well and have the commander set up a dragnet. We want the area closed off. We'll take this side of the street.
A harmonica-playing wrestler. That's a weird one. Think he knits as well?
Just keep your eyes open and your mouth shut. We don't want him to bolt on us.
I think you're barking up the wrong tree.
Well, that's nice of the game.
Wait. Pull. You hear that?
I mean, you don't have to travel very far to hear the harmonica.
Wilson Reed, LAPD, give yourself up.
Thought his harmonica was on the dead guy. Did he have a spare? Oh, he's running for it. Sounds like Roy is actually following us this time. Alright, well, according to the little red light, and all the spotlights, little red dots, excuse me, he's headed this way. Although I am confused why he decided to run up the stairs and not down them. It seems like that would have given him more choices. Yep, he's still going up. Onto the roof of the Broadway Hollywood.
Hold it. He's got to be around here somewhere. No place to go unless he grew wings.
There he is. Waste the son of a bitch.
Yeah, man, he's taking a lot of bullets here. So I guess I just decided I wanted to take out the whole sign. You can actually get an achievement for doing that, too.
Son of a bitch really picked a spot for it up here, didn't he? Julia Randall's folks are flying in from New York tomorrow to claim the body. I saw her on the slab. So perfect. Looked like she was made of porcelain. She really made an impression on me.
Well, you had that impact on a lot of men.
Christ, it's cold. You guys did good work here today. Roy, I think you should buy your brother officers a drink.
Do you now? That's very generous of you, Lieutenant.
Oh, those two. Yeah. So, not bad. Long, but not bad. Also some questionable moments, but they will be explained soon enough.
being overrun. We have to get off of this hill.
That's one of our 50 cows still firing, Cole. The 22nd are still fighting.
It's over, Cole. Looks like you're one of the lucky ones.
Say goodbye to your friend Hank, Jack.
He was your friend too, Cole. Is this how you're going to leave him? Are you wounded?
Scratch, Kelso.
Well, get up and get out of that fucking hole! Find a stretcher while you're at it so we can get him out of here.
Who's the senior officer here?
I guess that's you, Cole.
You were up here all night?
Yes, sir.
And your command?
Gone, sir.
Sorry to hear that, son. God damn it, we have beaten these bastards back. It's the beginning of the end, and it was one here. You're a goddamn hero, son. What's your name?
Lieutenant Phelps, sir.
I'm recommending you for the Silver Star, and promoting you to First Lieutenant.
That's the story of how Cole Phelps became a war hero by sitting in a hole and not dying. Today, I'll be continuing the streak I started last time by reviewing the classic, mostly noir film, The Naked City. I can only say it's mostly noir because, well, descriptions fall short. Let's just get on with it. The story about the story. Along with plays and books, one of the biggest influences on the history of cinema is, quite simply, photography. After all, motion pictures are literally exactly that. A series of still images captured and then played back in rapid sequence to fool the eyes into perceiving motion. Even in the age of digital photography and video games, that fact hasn't changed. The very first films were nothing more than pictures in motion, a proof of concept and a novelty, rather than a format for telling a story. I bring this up because The Naked City has what's very much a documentary feel, and documentaries developed their style during the very origin of film itself. See, motion pictures have something of an issue which still pictures don't have to worry about: editing. Any film which is more than a single take has to be edited, which means lying, in some sense, to the audience. This was especially true back in the early days, since film reels were only so long. Then there was the other problem: developing a narrative. School books, reference books, they can get away with not using a narrative because of their format. You can flip to the page you're interested in, read the information you're looking for, and then close the book and put it away. But a movie, you had to watch it from start to finish. Projectors and film reels were too expensive for most people to enjoy private viewings, and it would have been a chore to find the exact spot you're interested in, even if you could get the rest of the audience to agree to let you hunt it down. Thus, non-fiction films had to have a coherent beginning, middle, and end, and they had to appeal to a mass audience to recoup the costs of filming. One early documentary subgenre relevant to today's film is known as the City Symphony. These films, mostly produced in the 1920s, portrayed the rhythms and the bustle of cities which were then exploding in population. The filmmakers would capture footage of people going to work, going to have fun, and just generally filling the streets in a constant ebb and flow. Standout examples include Manhattan, about New York City, Berlin, Symphony of a City, about Berlin, Rien que les airs, about Paris, and Man with a Movie Camera, which spotlighted 3 Ukrainian cities along with the filmmaking process itself. The man behind The Naked City, Mark Hellinger, is exactly the sort of person you might have expected to come up with it. Born and raised in New York City, Hellinger became a journalist in 1922. The following year, the New York Daily News assigned him a Broadway gossip column. But instead of doing that, he started writing vivid short stories about life in New York. They proved so popular that his editor let him continue. By 1937, Hellinger's columns had nationwide syndication, and Jack Warner tapped him to write the screenplay for the hit film The Roaring Twenties. Hellinger would later go on to write and produce several more films, the last of which would be 1948's The Naked City. Unfortunately, Hellinger had a bad heart, and it killed him at the tail end of 1947 at the age of 44. Still, he lived just long enough to see a screening of the final cut of his film, and as sad as his early demise is, he at least picked a great film to go out on. The story. The movie begins with aerial shots of New York City and Mark Hellinger himself introducing the film as its narrator. He names the writers, the cinematographer, the director, Jules Dassin, and the lead actors. He also explains that the film was shot on location in Manhattan, including all of the interiors, and everyone you see in the background is a native New Yorker, whether they be extras or just locals who wandered into a long shot. Hellinger sets the stage, 1 a.m. on a hot summer night, and we move from one person to another as they sleep, work the graveyard shift, or enjoy a late evening out. We also see two men chloroform a woman, strangle her, and then dump her in her bathtub to drown. By the way, this is worked seamlessly into the montage. I should also add that we are meeting the main characters of the movie in this montage without any sort of fanfare. They're just some of the millions of people who live in New York. The montage moves on to the morning, and we see that one of the two murderers from earlier is having second thoughts. As a result of that, the second, larger man knocks him over the head with a 2x4 and dumps him into the ocean. Also, a baby cries. An old Irish man makes breakfast while singing a song. A young father says goodbye to his family as he leaves for work. Schoolgirls gossip as they climb on board the morning train, and a housekeeper starts her day by finding the body of her employer floating in the tub. The police get the emergency call, and an ambulance, the medical examiner, technical services, and the homicide squad are all called in. Specifically, the captain of homicide puts that Irishman from earlier, Lieutenant Dan Muldoon, in charge of the investigation, and Dan appoints the family man from earlier, Jimmy Halloran, as his assistant. They meet the team of police already at the apartment, and hear that Jean Dexter, a former department store model, was found dead by Martha Swenson, the housekeeper. Dan gets upset when he finds out that Martha moved the body before the police arrived, and when Jimmy finds a bottle of sleeping pills under the bed, he suggests that she might have died of an overdose. However, Dan tells him to let the medical examiner do his job. Sure enough, the examiner notices burns left by the chloroform and bruises left by the struggle, along with white foam around Dexter's mouth, which proves she drowned. Jimmy finds some men's pajamas and asks the housekeeper about it, and although she's quite distressed, Dan manages to get her to mention Mr. Philip Henderson, an older gentleman from Baltimore, who visited Dexter on a few occasions. The medical examiner then hands Dan the ring Dexter had on her, and the housekeeper mentions that it's a rare black star sapphire, which her brother sent to her from India. They then look for her jewelry box, but it's gone. Dan sends Jimmy off to track down the sleeping pill prescription and visit her workplace, and the movie rather methodically works through the process of visiting each place in turn and asking everyone about Jean Dexter. Jimmy meets the druggist to find the prescribing doctor, Lawrence Stoneman. Back at the apartment, Dan gets 2 hairs from the technical services staff, which has turned the bedroom upside down, and the housekeeper mentions Frank Niles, another male friend of Dexter's. After another cut, Jimmy meets with Dr. Stoneman, but it's a dead end. The good doctor knows Dexter took both uppers and downers like too many other young women of the day, but he only met her for one appointment. Jimmy then goes to see her former employer, whose complaints about Jean Dexter are almost word for word what they were in the LA Noire case, and he also meets Ruth Morrison, Dexter's friend, who hasn't heard of any Mr. Henderson. Later that day, Frank Niles comes down to the station. He tells Dan that he's in the textile business, and Dexter was a good friend who modeled for him on occasion. He also mentions he was a Marine in the South Pacific, 77th Division, and, for reference, Frank is a much better liar in the film. Dan mentions Ruth Morrison, while Jimmy has brought her in for an interview, and Frank claims he barely knows her. However, when Ruth comes in, she says Frank barely knew Jean, and that the two of them are engaged. Time passes, and Dan lets Ruth go but has someone follow her. He also checks up on Frank's other claims and confronts him about how he was never in the Marines, and his business is nothing but an empty office and a tax dodge. So Frank admits that he gets his money from gambling and insider trading, but he insists he didn't kill Jean Dexter. His alibi at least checks out, so Dan lets him go. He also assigns a total of 6 men to follow him. With all their fresh leads played out, the police start brainstorming to figure out where to look next. And Dan brings up J.P. McGillicuddy, his pet name for an unknown party. The medical examiner's report had just come in, and it revealed that 2 men had to have killed Dexter, since there were handprints on her shoulders. A woman stops by who claims that she can break the case, but she turns out to be insane, so they just humor her for a bit and let her leave. Jimmy heads home for the evening, and he and his wife get into an argument over whether they should physically punish their son for crossing the road unsupervised. He doesn't want to do it, his wife doesn't want to do it, and lucky for Jimmy, he gets out of it when he gets a call from the station and has to head back over. The call was for Jimmy to join Dan to speak with Jean Dexter's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Bathory, who just got in from New Jersey. Mrs. Bathory says she hates her daughter, repeats it over and over, probably to brace herself. But of course, she breaks down completely when she sees the body. Dan then takes the parents for a ride down to the shore, and once they've calmed down, he asks them about the star sapphire ring and the brother in India. Sure enough, turns out that Jean was an only child. The next morning, a body is found floating in the East River, and one of the men following Frank Niles spots him selling a cigarette case to a jewelry shop for $600. Dan checks it against the jewelry stolen from Dexter's apartment, but it doesn't fit. Another cop suggests looking at the big list of hot items stolen in the past year, but Dan considers it a long shot. Frank would have to be crazy to sell a stolen item in the middle of a big murder case. Meanwhile, other detectives are tracking down the men's pajamas, the ring, and Dexter's address book. That afternoon, a grocery boy confesses to the murder, saying she needed to be punished, and he should be punished in turn. Dan asks him where he hid the knife, and the boy says they'll never find it. So Dan tells one of his men to call the local psychiatric ward, and forgets about the whole thing. The pajamas turn out to be another dead end, but at 7:30 that evening, the cop who checked the stolen items list comes in with good news. Turns out the cigarette case was stolen from Dr. Stoneman. On top of that, Frank used the money to buy a one-way ticket to Mexico City. Even better, it turns out the star sapphire ring was also stolen, and originally belonged to a Mrs. Hilton. Dan and Jimmy go to see Mrs. Hilton to return her ring and ask about the robbery, but before they can get any details, her daughter shows up and turns out to be Ruth Morrison. Much like in the case, her parents divorced and she kept her father's name. It's at this point, however, that the detectives look at Ruth's pearl engagement ring, and Jimmy discovers that, like everything else connected to Frank Niles, it's stolen property. Dan, Jimmy, and Ruth drive over to confront Frank, but when they hear the sound of a scuffle, they barge in and they find Frank laid out on the floor. Dan and Jimmy spot someone fleeing down the fire escape and trade gunshots, but nobody hits anything. Jimmy chases the man to the elevated train, but then loses him. Back at the apartment, Frank comes around and claims to remember nothing about the attack, saying it must have been a burglar who just happened to use the same methods as what killed Gene Dexter. When Dan suggests the burglar stole something, Frank panics and checks his luggage, but then discovers his expensive cigarette lighter was in his pocket. Dan grabs it, and Jimmy checks the hot list, identifying it as property stolen 3 weeks ago. Frank continues to claim he's innocent, even as Dan confronts him with all the stolen items in the plane ticket, a ticket which Ruth didn't know about. Desperate, Frank claims he got it all from Gene Dexter, including Ruth's engagement ring, and so she starts slapping him for either being a thief or lying about Gene, or both. The next day, Jimmy comes in with a hunch. Peter Bacalus was the corpse found in the river the day before. He died just a few hours after Dexter, and he served 2 years for stealing jewelry from pawn shops. It's a long shot, but Jimmy begs, and Dan decides to let him waste some time on the angle. It takes him all day, but Jimmy tracks down Bacalus' arresting officer and finds out that he worked with a partner named Willie, a big guy who escaped arrest by throwing a chair through a window and diving through it like an acrobat. Also, one of the stolen items was a harmonica, so he's probably a player. Dan decides Jim might be onto something, so he gives him 2 men to help out, and they start checking all the gyms and booking agencies in New York. Eventually, they find a wrestling gym whose owner recognizes the description. Willie Garza is the man's full name, but he disappeared a few years back. They know his brother lives on Staten Island, so they go see him, but all his brother knows is that he lives somewhere near Williamsburg Bridge, which connects Brooklyn and Manhattan. He also tells them that the newspapers took Willie's photo a few times back when he wrestled. Jimmy spends all evening and most of the next day canvassing the neighborhood, looking for anyone who recognizes Willie. And meanwhile, Dan has brought Mr. McCormick in from Boston. McCormick bought stolen jewels from Frank, and he has a letter of introduction to prove it. A letter written by Dr. Stoneman. Dan confronts Frank once again, and he's not gonna take his shit anymore. So, Frank finally spills the beans. Henderson is Dr. Stoneman. Back on the streets, Jimmy finally finds a corner store owner who recognizes Willie and says he lives somewhere on the same road. At the same time, Dan and Frank go to Stoneman's office, and after a bit of trickery like what's in the case, Stoneman immediately breaks down and admits to everything. Stoneman and his wife threw parties that would get rich people out of their homes. Frank and Dexter arranged everything, and the 2 other men committed the actual robberies. Like in the case, Stoneman tries to jump out his window, but unlike the case, Frank and 2 other men managed to grab him and prevent him from doing so. This whole event gets Frank to finally admit the names of the robbers, Bacalus and Garza. He also mentions that the murders were all Garza's idea. He killed Dexter and Bacalus to get a bigger cut of the loot. Back with Jimmy, turns out that he's decided to confront Willie without any backup. He tells Willie he's there from Bellevue Hospital and that Bacalus told him where Willie lives. But Willie attacks him, since that's not something Bacalus knew. Willie steals Jimmy's gun and then gives him a rabbit punch to the back of the neck, letting him live because he knows killing a cop would land him in even deeper shit than what he's already dealing with. Dan finds out about Jimmy just in time to start a manhunt for Willie, and Jimmy comes to just in time to chase after Willie himself. Even so, Willie manages to lose himself in the crowded streets, but with the manhunt on, he's too nervous to blend in. He bumps into a blind man and his seeing eye dog, and in a panic, he pulls his gun and shoots the dog, announcing his location in the process. The police chase him onto the Williamsburg Bridge walkway and manage to surround him, so he runs up the staircase of one of the towers. Dan orders the other police to stop chasing Willie since he has no place left to run, but when he tries to talk Willie down, the thief responds by shooting at him. The police fire back, Willie gets hit, and he falls to his death. The movie ends with another montage of all the faces we've come to know, and in the film's final seconds, Hellinger utters that most famous of lines. There are 8 million stories in the Naked City. This has been one of them. Final thoughts. The line between fiction and nonfiction is a lot more vague than many people seem to realize. It feels like scientific facts should be indisputable, that history should be clear from what we can see of its consequences, and that pictures and video cannot lie. But none of these things are true. The world isn't perfect, neither are humans. One of the earliest documentaries was Nanook of the North, created by Robert Flaherty in 1922, which supposedly followed an Inuk man and his family as they tried to survive in the Arctic Circle. The surviving film is actually Flaherty's second attempt at a documentary on Canadian Native Americans. The footage from his first trip into Canada literally went up in smoke when he dropped a cigarette on his very flammable film stock. Perhaps because of this, Flaherty didn't exactly show the literal truth in his second film. The protagonist's wives were not his actual wives. The hunting scenes were performed with spears and harpoons instead of the rifles and shotguns the locals preferred, and the igloo interior scenes had to be filmed with part of the igloo removed since the camera was too big to get in and the interior was too dark for filming. Oh, and the protagonist's name was not Nanook, but something that's admittedly hard to pronounce. And, unlike what Flaherty would later say, he did not die of starvation, or because a polar bear ate him. He died in his bed, of tuberculosis. Now, arguably, Flaherty was staging these events in order to depict the truth of living in the North, a truth which was otherwise impossible to depict, what with the bulky tripod-only cameras he had access to. For that matter, we constantly have to compensate for the effects of cameras in any kind of production. The camera adds 10 pounds, as the saying goes, and between the lights and the white balance, people can look pasty and sick on camera unless they wear makeup that darkens their complexion to compensate. And of course, if you can manipulate facts to arrive at a basic truth, you can also manipulate facts to arrive at your truth, the assumptions and biases which you personally use to understand the world. Nations used documentaries as propaganda during World War II and the Cold War. Michael Moore selected certain facts and ignored others to present very politically charged documentaries like Fahrenheit 9/11, Bowling for Columbine, and Sicko. And it can go further than political propaganda. Loose Change is a series of incomplete thoughts, half-facts, and conspiracy speculations about the 9/11 terrorist attacks that almost sounds reasonable since it acts like a documentary. More recently, a film called The Principle tried to argue in favor of geocentrism of all things, and it did so by quoting physicists and astronomers out of context, going on tangents that only appear to have anything to do with the topic, and by actively tricking Kate Mulgrew, aka Captain Janeway, into voicing the narrator. So the next time you watch some apparently clear footage, read the supposed facts, or hear about the unbiased studies, try to avoid assuming that what you're looking at is fact, is indisputable. That's not to say you should paralyze yourself with indecision or assume that nothing at all is true, but to be a good skeptic, you have to at least entertain the thought that everything you think you know is wrong. Thanks for joining me again for today's film review, and I hope you'll join me next time for a film about the most decorated American soldier in World War II, starring himself.